Hey everybody, welcome. Craig Peterson here on WGAN. It is quite a week. I just can't believe how fast time is going. So many people are at home with nothing much to do. They're watching Netflix, etc. And I am busier than ever just trying to help people out. I'm going to be doing more of that. Just all of the free training and stuff over the next couple of weeks. I've just been so busy. I don't know if you've heard any of my features here on the radio station. They're supposed to have started airing. I guess we'll see if they do air. But I'm putting together these kind of filler things that are a couple of minutes long. And the whole idea behind them is to really help people with just various technology issues. You know me, I'm focusing on security, because that is what seems to be lacking the most, and especially when we're seeing what we're seeing right now, which is all kinds of people just getting everything stolen from them. It is crazy what's happening. You know, we're all working at home right now to some degree. Many of us, obviously, you still have to go in and in food service and manufacturing, etc. But even with that, the bosses aren't necessarily all there. Some people are getting sick and are staying home for very good reasons. I think we'll see more of that in the future. Someone gets sick instead of the old American work ethic of going in and getting everybody else sick. I think we're going to see a lot more of the, hey, I'm going to stay home because I'm not feeling well, which is going to be interesting because so many companies have these sick day policies that I've never liked particularly. I think some of those will change too. But what is going to happen here in our post-COVID world, right? We've got this COVID-19. Of course, the Wuhan virus causes the disease. It's also called, COVID, SARS-2. You remember SARS. SARS had a much higher death rate than COVID is turning out to have. But there are many people that have this. And we've seen some statistics now coming out saying that even people that are staying home, this one hospital this week did a little bit of research and found that 60% of their patients had been quarantining themselves at home. Now, that tells you something, too. We still don't know enough about this whole Wuhan virus and the diseases that it might cause and some of the symptoms we kind of know. Obviously, when it comes to the respiratory problems, this acute respiratory disease, which is what SARS is, we know the basics of that. But, man, the stuff we've been hearing about people having circulation problems, having legs amputated, even people who are in good shape. You know, I hate to see it, but I can understand a diabetic having problems, right? And maybe ultimately having a leg amputated because of circulatory problems that come with diabetes or circulatory problems that come with being morbidly obese or even just obese. Those all kind of make sense to me, but I don't know. There's just so much we don't know. And one of the things we're trying to figure out is, what does business look like? What is going to happen? And there's a great article that came out in Computer World just this last week that is talking about telecommuting. I think it's a really kind of an interesting thing because what we're talking about is a disease that's going to be affecting us probably for the next 18 months to 2 years. Now, I don't mean like the whole country or world is shut down for that period of time. Obviously, that would be catastrophic to everyone. We would have people dying of starvation if that were to happen. But what I'm talking about is really kind of like what happened with the Spanish flu. You know, every last one of us have had that flu that happened in 1918. And unless you've been an absolute hermit and have never had any food you didn't grow, etc., right? And it just sticks around. And that's going to happen with this Wuhan virus as well. It is going to be around forever, frankly, now that it's been thrust upon us, however that came to be. But depending on whether or not we got a vaccine, we've got some really good treatment when they're in place, that's really going to be the point where we try and get back to usual. I don't know. So many businesses are doing layoffs. One of my son's his boss was just furloughed, and a couple of his team members were furloughed. He's kind of low-end management. He has a team that he supervises, and so the supervisor, one of the supervisors of the team supervisors, got laid off. So when the business gets back going again, are they still going to have that extra layer of management in the middle? I don't think so. And some of these team members that were laid off are not necessarily, I'm not talking about my son here, but just in general. But some of these team members that have been laid off in businesses are not necessarily the best of employees. So what does that mean? The owners and executives and businesses are going to have to find themselves running businesses in very different ways. And I talked this week a little bit with Matt. Of course, I'm on the radio pretty much every morning during the week on different stations, but I was talking about what is happening. What are we looking at? Where is this going? And one of the things that came up was, hey, listen, we have these executives at the C level. We have all of these people down at the front end. Is that going to change the way most businesses work? And obviously, I think the answer to that is yes, right? Absolutely yes. And the vast majority of the burden to put together these new businesses and new operations is going to fall to the people in information technology. That's exactly what we are doing. So we've got to have IT executives starting to talk about what does the business look like going forward? What should they be doing? How can they have an infrastructure that works for the employees and that is safe and secure? Because the bad guys have redoubled their efforts, and there's so many opportunities to them now because there's fewer eyes watching everything, right? Now, working from home is a term that many people are using, and frankly, if you want to guarantee that the business change is going to fail, maybe you just call it working from home. Telecommuting on a corporate basis can work, but that's not everybody. That's not where we're all going to be here. When we're talking about these multi-billion-dollar companies, barely any of them had true corporate work at home or telecommuting pre-COVID-19. Now, some of them did in some cases, but frankly, the big distinction between work from home and corporate telecommuting is that they thought work at home was an occasional thing for convenience, or you're not feeling well today, there's a blizzard, there's a big storm out there, or there's a power outage at the main office because they're doing some construction. Some businesses also said, hey, listen, every Friday during the summer, you want to stay home once a month or whatever, just go ahead and do it and work from home. That's not corporate telecommuting. Telecommuting is where the employee or the contractor, these people who are working on a gig basis, are based at the remote location full time. Now, I've talked a bit about gig economy and gig workers before on this show, and I've talked about it many times on the radio and TV. But in case you don't know what that is, the gig economy is a major change we started to see a few years ago, where people, particularly businesses, were looking and saying, hey, listen, we don't need to have all of these people on payroll, because in reality, this job is part-time. So why would we pay someone full-time when it's a part-time job? And why would I have one person working at it when I could have 3, 4, 5 people working at it when necessary? So all of a sudden there's an uptick in my business. Instead of having to try and find someone else, hire someone else, bring them in, or turn down the work because I can't possibly handle it because I only have this one person who was part-time before, what we end up doing is saying, hey, how about we just find people to do this one narrow thing? And the more narrowly the task can be defined, the better off the business is, because the cost goes down. The more complex a task is, the more expensive it is. You look at something like Amazon Mechanical Turk. In case you're not familiar with that service Amazon has, there's people who, maybe some of you guys are doing this, who sit there and do very small, very narrow tasks for typically a fixed price. So it might be, get me the phone number and name of this doctor in this town. And you're paid a penny or whatever, 5 cents for doing that very, very narrow task. So they can go ahead and they have someone else saying, find me the name of all of the doctors that meet this criteria in this town and get me their names, their phone numbers, and their addresses. Much, much cheaper to break all of that down to the business. So they're looking at things like Mechanical Turk, but they're also looking at sites like Fiverr, which I've used before as well, Fiverr.com. And if you go to Fiverr.com, in fact, let me go there right now while we're talking, you can find people to do almost anything for you. It says right on their homepage here, find the perfect freelance services for your business. And most of these are very narrow tasks. And the original idea is, you know, $5. They just charge $5 for it. And, isn't that a more reasonable thing than having to have an employee and having to have all of the expenses involved? All right, so stick around. I want to finish this up here, a little bit of wandering and meandering, as we're talking about what does the post-Wuhan virus world look like in the business space. You're listening to Craig Peterson on WGAN, online, craigpeterson.com.